it's so much more natural. I eat real food now, and I didn't realize how much processed food I was eating until I started carnivore.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Shawn Baker here. Today we're going to look at Daz, a dance instructor who was vegan for 20 years before seeing it ruin his health. He ended up reclaiming his health by changing to a carnivore diet. Daz decided to become a vegetarian and then vegan back in 1996.
Early 20s, like 21 is when I really started off and I cut off all meats. I was still eating meat up until about 21. And that's when I said, okay, you know what? Enough is enough. I'll start by cutting off meat, red meat, pork, and beef. I cut everything off, and I stuck with chicken for months. So I would be eating chicken every day until I got tired of chicken, and then I cut off chicken. And that's how I started to become a vegetarian. So I was still eating cheese here and there. Then it took maybe a few years after that. Then I cut off cheese as well. Then I became more so what they call vegan today.
As many people do, he felt great initially, though he did begin to notice some weakness developing.
Felt good at first. I really thought, man, this is the better way of living.
He would end up noticing the weakness more as he stayed on the plant diet for longer and longer.
What I noticed is one time when I was younger, when I was at, I would say, late 20s, I tried to bench press. And that's when I was like, maybe I'm not as strong as I thought I was.
The effect of protein on muscle mass is quite well documented, both in science as well as in weightlifting. We also have studies showing that vegans consume less total protein because there is less usable complete protein contained within plant foods. The best foods to quench an appetite or to achieve satiety, as we say, are proteins and fats, meat basically, and Daz wasn't eating any of it.
Always had to have snacks throughout the day. Since I was always physically active, I had to eat all the time. So 4 or 5 times a day, I was always eating. I would carry with me bottles of smoothies when I'd be making. So I would always have something to eat, bars, granola bars and stuff like that. So I always had that with me because I was always hungry. But for me, I thought it was normal. You're supposed to eat that much.
Being perpetually hungry often leads to snacking and eat more calories by the end of the day, on top of being more uncomfortable. Now, intestinal gas is produced when bacteria ferment plant fiber. It's what cows do. What happens when humans try to eat this way?
And also my bowels was extremely active. I used to always be farting, heavy flatulence, and I used to always go to the bathroom at least 5, 6, 7 times a day.
I wonder if anyone's calculated the impact of global warming if everyone became vegan. We do know that carnivores pass less gas, so make sure you do your part, okay? Okay, back to Daz. Eventually, after 20 years, things had progressed to the point where Daz knew it was time to change.
I went from a guy who had a hard time gaining weight throughout my early adulthood to mid-30s to a guy who blew up to listen. As driving on the bus, I guess after almost 10 years, I noticed that I gained almost 100 pounds from what I used to be. From my regular natural 165 to 180 pounds, I became 250, 260 pounds while I was driving on the bus. I was like, yo, this is crazy. I was still active, still being able to do some training, but I was much heavier than what I used to be.
His weight had gotten up to 298 pounds, and Daz knew that his vegan diet and the foods he was eating was to blame. This is often the make or break issue. When you're clearly gaining weight, do you accept it or you do something to change it? Many people simply accept it and keep gaining weight, ruining their health. Today's society is trying to make obesity normal, despite the fact that it is a medical problem. About 42% now of U.S. adults are now, in fact, obese. Okay, so Daz knew it was time for a change because he did not want to keep gaining weight and having problems. At first, he just slowly added a little bit of meat to his diet. 2017, after being vegetarian vegan for about 20 plus years, I was like, okay, enough is enough. I didn't even say that. I had a heavy craving. That's what happened. I had a craving one day. I was home. And my body was just asking for meat. So I just listened to my body. I just went out to a Haitian restaurant, picked up a plate of chicken and rice, and that was my first introduction back to meat. And I never looked back after that. And then after doing his own research and learning more about it, he committed to going on a carnivore diet.
I dived myself into the carnivore content last year, January 2022, for about 8 months before I fully jumped into it. And I said, you know what, enough is enough. I've seen enough testimonies. I need to try it for myself to see if it really works. And August 2022 is when I jumped fully into carnivore to see the effects. And that's when I got convinced.
Now, his body responded quickly. The pounds came off. Daz saw himself healing just by eating meat. He also got amazing core strength. Daz tries to influence those around him, but they don't always understand.
But I'm annoyed because now that I know what I know, I'm annoyed of looking at people around me eating a lot of vegetables and fruits. And when I speak, they think I'm crazy. So I guess that's the downside. I'm annoyed about sometimes I have to explain, and sometimes people look at you like, man, it's really going against the grain. So
many people on a carnivore diet find that their mind works better. Did Daz also experience this?
I used to not be able to finish a lot of stuff that I started, or it used to take me forever, months to start certain projects, unless I had help with me to do certain things.
Daz also found his moods to be better as well.
Concentration for certain things, be forgetful, be very irritated, be very anxious, be very I wasn't patient as I am now.
Like many of us, Daz began to rethink the idea of eating at a restaurant.
I used to be a guy that spent $10,000 to $15,000 a year. After I did my taxes, I realized in restaurants. Now, if I do $1,000, it's wow. Because I hate going to the restaurant, because I'm like, you know what? Why would I go spend that money when I could use that money to buy myself a week worth of meat?
Daz has also seen the reactions of people who know him, validating the success he has had on the carnivore diet.
Pretty much all my surrounding, they knew that I was a very hardcore vegan for the last 20 years. They get very intrigued and perplexed, so they actually ask questions of what happened, how come, and they see the difference. They see the me for the last 4 or 5 years and the me now, and every time they see me, they're like, man, what happened to you? You lost so much, you look so lean, you look so strong, you look so happy. They actually more question me more than insults, so I get more questions than anything else. And I guess that I get to conversations with people. And so far, I have to say, I have at least half a dozen to a dozen people that have actually tried the carnivore diet just by seeing the content and by seeing that I post.
Overall, he feels like he has found the ultimate answer and tries to share it wherever he can.
I call one of my friends and I say, listen, I want to talk to you about something that I've been seeing for the past 6-7 months. I never told you anything about it because I didn't want you to think I was crazy. So I really looked into it. But I'm telling you, I think this is the real deal. I think we've been living in a nutritional matrix, and I think I got the red pill out of this one.
So I'm happy to see Daz get his health back and continue to provide inspiration to others, both with his coaching and with his diet. Keep up the great work, Daz. If you thought this video was interesting, check out the video we made about the Cuban government imposing a mostly vegan diet and how the people started going blind. Kind of crazy.